they did then in 1776.
They did that to who? They proclaimed themselves as nationalists.
To the world. They didn't fill out no application, because an application holds a legal definition too. An application is a privilege. And a privilege is what? Something that can be denied, rejected, given, and taken away. They didn't fill out no application. They made a declaration. This is saying that this is what it is. And this is what you do when you proclaim your nationality. You're not proclaiming your nationality saying, okay, can I be a national to some de facto agency? No. That's unconstitutional. That's 14th Amendment citizenship status. That's what I'm doing. I need to do a printout to a...
Can you say this?
Yeah. You don't put together a document. I was just on the phone with a brother today, and he was asking me, all right, yeah, I got my papers, you know, nationality, stamp, sign, and all that. And he was asking me, all right, what next? And I told him, all right, you want to put them on notice. That's what you want to do. You want to put them on notice when you have any document. Remember, they don't authenticate your document. We represent a nation. That flag represents a nation. That nation is what authenticates our documents. We just put them on notice when we serve them our documents. Whether they want to accept it or not is on them. The same thing that we're doing is the same thing they did when they established the Republic in 1776. Great Britain didn't want to accept them declaring themselves, but that they committed an act of treason by doing that. You understand? They already took an oath to Great Britain, or to the king of Great Britain, or the queen of Great Britain. They already took an oath to that. So by them deciding to step outside of that monarch, which is a government where there's a king or a queen as the head, by them stepping outside of that, they already in treason by doing that. We're not in treason by doing what we're doing. They're in treason by making us into a citizen that we did not knowingly, willingly, and intentionally agree with. We did agree. We just didn't do it knowingly, willingly, and intentionally. And they did not foreclose all evidence or all terms and conditions associated with the various different contracts that we have signed with them. They don't tell you that you're an artificial person. They don't tell you that you're a juristic person. If they got on CNN and started telling people they were juristic people, it'll probably be all types of chaos and riots going on. It's kind of like that now because people are starting to get hold of this information. But people not getting a hold of this information and going bonkers with it. They're getting a hold of the information and they're finding out what their remedy is, and they're utilizing that remedy. So now they're starting to try to identify people that enforce the Constitution as paper terrorists. In some instances, when you're dealing with the Uniform Commercial Code, placing liens on certain public officials, etc. Because you ain't gonna get no justice in their court system. It's not gonna happen. You can't file no lawsuit and expect to get a remedy in your court system. The only thing you can do is get a case dismissed. That can be done easy.
So if you were to notify other nations of your status, and if the administrative agencies choose not to accept to operate under the constitutional law, could you then put that on notice to other nations?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Or would that be what you want?
Absolutely. This is exactly what Taj gets into when he starts talking about human trafficking. That's what they're doing. When they established their democracy in 1933, move the votes. New Deal democracy, they established the Office of Human Trafficking. They turned the entirety of the United States citizenry into a second-class citizenship status. When that class of citizenship was initially for Negroes, for us, that want to proclaim to be Negro. Those who don't know who they are, those who forgot that they were Moors, those who forgot that they were the builders or the mound builders of all the great megalithic structures up and down the Mississippi, as well as across the great Atlantis. Now mind you, these Masons who run government, they know all your history. They keep it a secret. That's why they wear your feds. This is why they wear your apron. And they sign it. They wear your apron. They wear your feds. They use your tools in court. You understand? All your principles. They even will rock your flag in secret. They're bound by open obligation to keep you blind as to who you are. The third degree of Freemasonry is the Master Mason degree. Now, in that ritual, you go through the reenactment of the murdering of Hiram Abiff. Who was Hiram Abiff? Anybody know?
Since they're murdering him, I take it as us.
Bingo. Symbolically, Hiram Abiff is us. Now, in the ritual, Hiram Abiff is the he's the head builder. He's the Master Mason head builder, right? And they keep asking him for the password. They ask him in the ritual. They keep asking him for the password. He don't give it to them. It's called 3 refinements. Jubello, Jubello, or Jubello, Jubellum, and Jubilee. The 3 Jews that can be slain. Now, that's nothing but a representation of the 3 European nations that have been slaughtering Hiram Abiff, which is the Moorish Empire. And then on his grave, you'll see this. You'll have a tombstone with this on his grave. In the ritual. On the ritual, when the third Jew approaches him, he bangs him upside the head with a maul. Kill him. Then he gets raised out of his grave with the lion's paw grip, which is the Master Mason grip. He gets raised. Well, first they try to enter the apprentice grip, and they just fall back down. Then they try to fellow craft grip, that ain't strong enough. Then you fall back down. Then the lion's paw grip, and you get raised on out the grave. And that raising of a ram is the raising of the Moorish nation. But they raise the ram to the point where they understand who the Moorish nation is and keep us concealed from who the Moorish nation is, which is represented by what? The 5-pointed star. Why is that represented by the 5-pointed star? Why is Friday the holy day in the Moorish Science Temple, Moorish Holy Temple of Science? Anybody, verbatim from the questionnaire.
First day, flesh.
A higher degree of understanding that is looking at the sun, Venus, and the Earth in its orbital plane throughout the course of a year. It will form that 5-pointed star. I ain't that good of a draw, but at 5 points throughout the course of the year, you will have this, that, that, with the Earth and Venus. A higher degree of understanding that. All Master Masons that are true Master Masons are well aware of that science. All adepts, true adepts, well aware of that science. You understand? And these are the same principles that they utilize in law and government. Now, I don't want to get too far into this because this right here is astrology. I'm going to stay on law and government. But law and government and astrology are one and the same thing. So now, let's get back to these definitions and find out who is actually been studied. We went over status, right? You said status?
The question that you had asked before was, when was the U.S. when was the United States no longer
No one answered that.
What was the last name before 1776?
1776 was when they established the Republic. That's when they proclaimed their independence. I'm glad you reminded me of that, sister. I forgot. When they broke away from the Republican form of government, it was actually in 1861. But when they established the jurisdiction, nation state called U.S. or District of Columbia, that was the Congressional Acts of 1871. That's when the United States became a corporation under the name District of Columbia. 10 square miles.
I was right in the last one from 1861.
It's the Congressional Acts of 1871. When the United States of America became incorporated under the name District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. Now, via the Congressional Acts of 1871, right? This is what established a separate jurisdiction, which was in conjunction with the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment states what? I don't think y'all have it on that Constitution that y'all have, because that one, if I'm mistaken, that one is just the Constitution of the Bill of Rights.
Bill of Rights, yeah.
Which is actually the Constitution.
You said the 14th Amendment? I might have it.
That's when it gives all the rights and privilege, or I guess the so-called privileges.
The 14th Amendment, anybody know why the 14th Amendment was created?
Second class citizen.
Who?
The second class citizen.
To actually, yeah, to do the same thing the Constitution does for the real people, it does it for the artificial people. Not people, artificial persons.
Now, what's the purpose of the Constitution again?
Protect the rights of the nation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, the 14th Amendment, y'all both right. That's 100%. The 14th Amendment was specifically for Negroes. Those who were classified as being Negroes. Just freed from slavery. Right? Now, the reason why they produced the 14th Amendment was due to the Dred Scott versus Sanford Supreme Court case ruling. Anybody know about that case?
What case?
The Dred Scott versus Sanford Supreme Court case ruling.
Well, actually, there was like a multiple decision across the board dealing with the rights of the Negro and the statuses. I know that one of the main things was they sent him back to slavery for the fact that, I know one quote in there, because he's not protected by the Constitution because he wasn't there as a national, he was there as a Negro. I remember one of the questions they asked him, how do you come before us? And he said, as a Negro, a free man, a Negro. And they said, in that case, the Constitution doesn't protect you. There's an acknowledgement.
Bingo, say it again.
Because he came to him as a Negro, they said the Constitution doesn't protect or acknowledge him. So he cannot be there to protect him.
Say that one more time.
The Constitution does not protect him because
It don't protect who?
The Negroes.
Okay. Now, what did Noble Drew Ali say in regard to the 14th and 15th Amendment of the Constitution?
They're not necessary.
For the salvation of my people. So now you got Prophet Noble Drew Ali telling you about the purpose of the 14th Amendment, and you got that Judge Cheney also telling you about the nature of nationality. And if you're coming as a Negro is what? Is there a nation named Negro anywhere that anyone knows of?
No.
Who does the Constitution protect against out here?
Constitution protects the rights of nationals.
National. Is a Negro a national?
No.
Absolutely not. So a Negro does not have any protections. Now let's go back to that Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence proclaims that all men are created free and equal. See, now this is what we got to do with the Constitution. The Constitution is a puzzle. we gotta take certain pieces of that puzzle and put them together for our particular situations. Because when we step into a lot of these situations, we're not too aware of how to use it. And this is what we focus on in these. We're focusing on how to take this piece and then link it together with that piece, and then link it together with that piece to give a direct answer and a direct shutdown whenever you step into any body politic. It's written right here in black and white, it's documented, and this is what it means. If you don't think that's what it means, well then let's go back to this one. This one right here says that all men are created free and equal, right? So if all men are created free and equal, and even though Ali says this in the divine warning, he says since the Constitution of 1774 has never been changed and proclaimed all men free and equal. And it's never been changed. There is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments. Now the Constitution of 1774 is what?
Of the Republic? 1774.
1774. We went over this.
Of the continental U.S.?
It is of that, yeah, in a way.
1774. The Articles of Confederation.
You're almost right.
Articles of Confederation.
Articles of Association.
I mean, association, yes. I'm sorry.
Articles of Association proclaim all men free and equal. Now, mind you, the right for you to be free and equal does not come from that document. But when you're talking about the political jurisdiction of the U.S. or the United States of America Republic, now you're talking about its organic document. And its organic document, the charter, proclaims all men free and equal. So, now somebody who has the shade of skin like mine, is he not a man? Right? Now, if they take that man and fool him into thinking that he's not a man, but he's a Negro, then he don't share the same equal and protection clause that you will find in the main body of the Constitution. The equal and protection clause is in there already. They put another one in the 14th Amendment. Why? Because it applies to another person. There's a due process clause in the 5th Amendment of the Constitution. There's also a due process clause in the 14th Amendment. Why? Because it applies to another class of person. And that is specifically for Negroes. This is why after that you have subsequent civil rights acts. All of these different acts where blacks are trying to get the same rights as whites. But
do that because you can't all in the name of faith.
exactly. How you gonna, if the Declaration of Independence, can anybody in here prove why the Declaration of Independence is still valid as the supreme law of the land today? Anybody?
Yes, because we're still a quote-unquote nation, independent nation.
Yeah, that's right. But how can you prove that with their own documentation?
Because any article, I mean, not article, it's one of the amendments, maybe it's the article that says that all treaties and what does it say?
Bingo. That's Article 6.
What is it?
Article 6 of the Constitution. That's called the Supremacy Article, or the Supremacy Clause, which mandates that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land and all debts and engagements prior to the adoption of the Constitution are as valid now as they were before the adoption of the Constitution, which would include the Declaration of Independence, but not limited to. Also the Articles of Association, Articles of Confederation, and international treaties as well as domestic treaties. Because there's a lot of those. But they don't teach you about none of that in school because it has all to do with you and your culture here on this land. They don't even teach you about the one that got to do with your forefathers on the other side of your land, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Why would they teach you about the ones that go on right here in North America?
I have a question. I'm a little confused from what I read before. I want to make sure that I'm still on the right track. I'm not confused. Too confused. The 14th Amendment was 1865, correct, or 1861?
1868.
I mean,
The Civil War ended in 1865.
1865, and that's when they did the
After the Civil War is when they ratified the 14th Amendment. And they did that in conjunction with the Dred Scott decisions. Dred